Sandy Duncan's wholesome charm and infectious smile endeared her to generations of fans. Yet, behind the brave on-screen persona, Sandy bravely battled real-life health hardships. For over 50 years, rumors have swirled about the acclaimed actress sporting a glass eye, though the real story is more complex. Join FactsVerse as we present Sandy Duncan reveals the truth about her glass eye. Early life and career beginnings. Sandy Duncan, born Sandra K. Duncan, spent her early years in New London, Texas. Her childhood there fostered a vibrant imagination and a talent for performance. Though money was scarce, her parents saved enough to pay for Sandy's first dance lessons after seeing how she lit up a stage. Bitten by the acting bug early on, she immersed herself in school plays and local theater productions, landing her first paid acting role at age 12 in a community theater production of The King and I. The $150 a week gig was more than her father's modest income at the gas station he owned. Sandy's talents got her a scholarship to study dance and theater after high school, but she left after 1 year to pursue her professional acting dreams in New York. She worked odd jobs and lived in cramped apartments. After months of near misses, her big break came when she landed a role as a dancer in a Broadway revival of West Side Story in the mid-1960s. From there, Sandy's rise was meteoric. Her bright-eyed vivaciousness and girl-next-door charm made her a casting favorite. In 1968, she won the starring role of Kim in a Broadway revival of The King and I. Call it fate, considering it was the first show she ever acted in. Rave reviews followed as Sandy held her own against theater legends playing opposite her. More Broadway lead roles came quickly, culminating in the coveted part of Peter Pan in 1979. Critics called her a born Pan, and audiences loved the childlike wonder she brought to the boy who wouldn't grow up. Tony Award nominations soon followed, with Sandy cementing her place as an iconic Broadway star. Sandy's brain tumor and eye surgery. In 1972, at the height of her early Broadway success, she began experiencing concerning medical symptoms. She suffered frequent severe headaches and vision problems in her left eye. An initial doctor's visit showed swelling behind the eye, leading to Sandy being rushed to the hospital for testing. At just 24 years old, she received a shocking diagnosis. She had a benign brain tumor lodged behind her left optic nerve. The large tumor was already impacting Sandy's vision, and doctors warned that delayed treatment could lead to permanent blindness. They quickly scheduled Sandy for high-risk surgery to remove the mass. The complex procedure could possibly damage her optic nerve or eye muscles permanently, but not operating was a greater risk. Sandy steeled herself for the operation, knowing her career could be drastically impacted, but that she had no other choice. The surgery itself went well. Doctors were able to fully remove the brain tumor without complications. However, in doing so, they unfortunately severed Sandy's left optic nerve. The nerve damage was irreparable, leaving Sandy completely blind in her left eye from that day forward. Some urged her to get a glass eye replacement, but Sandy refused artificial prosthetics. She preferred keeping her natural eyeball, sightless as it was. In the coming weeks, she struggled to adjust to only having half her vision, especially depth perception. Everyday tasks became challenging, but she remained upbeat, grateful the tumor was gone and she still had vision in one eye. The ordeal halted her soaring stardom for a short period. Some said she'd never perform on stage again with her disability, but she soon resumed both her acting career and dance training. She learned to adapt to her new visual limitations, finding creative ways to compensate when needed. Sandy later said losing an eye upset her more for cosmetic reasons than professional ones. Sandy's continued success, despite partial vision loss. Sandy could have retreated from public life after losing her eye in her 20s. Many expected her to do so, given the era's lack of sensitivity around disabilities. But Sandy refused to be held back or pitied. Yes, Sandy's vision loss impacted certain opportunities, as some directors couldn't see past her impairment. Film offers dried up, given the visual medium's unforgiving nature. Her compromised depth perception and occasional wandering eye were more glaring on camera. So while dreams of Hollywood stardom faded, Sandy found continued, even greater, success in theater. Broadway embraced her comeback, allowing Sandy's natural talents to overshadow her partial blindness. She starred in a quick succession of plays before reprising her career-defining turn as Peter Pan in 1979. Critics were awed by her triumphant return, and she picked up her first Tony nomination for the role. More nominations followed as she cemented her place as a Broadway institution throughout the 1980s. She also thrived on television. She headlined popular sitcoms like Funny Face and The Hogan Family, her chipper screen presence charming a new generation of fans unaware of her disability. She even occasionally danced and performed sketch comedy, gleefully poking fun at her bad eye. Guest spots on classic variety shows let Sandy showcase her singing gifts too. While she continued scaling career heights, she faced ongoing personal challenges behind the scenes. Her depth and spatial perception issues caused frequent offstage accidents. She also endured bouts of clinical depression exacerbated by her vision struggles. Medication and therapy helped, as did finding comfort in her Christian faith. By the 90s, she was a beloved icon of stage and screen. Having long proved her talents transcended her partial blindness, she mostly avoided pity and patronization over her condition. In doing so, she pioneered greater inclusion and representation for disabled performers. Why the glass eye rumor persisted. Despite her actual eye remaining intact after the surgery, an urban legend arose that it had been replaced by a prosthetic glass eye. The myth persisted for years, even decades. Where the rumor started is unclear, but its longevity stems from several factors. For one, her physical appearance after the tumor removal gave the impression of an artificial eye. With blindness came drooping of the eyelid and muscle weakness that made her left eye stray sideways at times. Its gaze seemed glassy and unfocused, unlike her sharp right eye. Stage lighting could make the white of her left eye glow unnaturally bright compared to her natural brown right iris. The glass eye myth also gained momentum since Sandy was occasionally photographed with an eye patch in the 70s. Some assumed she wore the patch to hide a prosthetic rather than to train her good eye to strengthen. Tabloids ran wild headlines that her fake eye had fallen out on stage. Sandy's public jokes about her wonky eye and self-deprecating humor perhaps also fueled the false beliefs. Sandy today. Approaching 50 years since her life-changing surgery, Sandy today continues, defying both age and her partial blindness, to maintain an active career at 76 years old. While no longer starring in Broadway blockbusters like before, she still performs regularly on stage in touring musicals and theatrical publications across America. Her name recognition and talent ensures sizable crowds in whichever city she plays. When not on the road acting or creating digital content, she cherishes spending time at the California home she shares with Don, her husband of over 40 years. Now it's time to hear from you. What's your favorite memory of Sandy Duncan? Let us know in the comments section below.